As a retired Clark County school teacher, I worked at Clark High School and Centennial High School, and those students were impacted by the knowledge of getting better jobs and learning how to provide for themselves. I would also like to say that across from Bonanza High School is a park. It's called the Fireman Park. It was built in 2002, and to this day they refuse, the city of Las Vegas has refused to put a bathroom in that park. You can go look for yourself across from Bonanza High School. And if you ask the city of Las Vegas, they say because they want to protect the students in Bonanza High School from the homeless. In this area, how can we protect our students? You might say, well, it's not a big deal, but we don't know the impact. They are putting pressure on us to say that this is state-owned land. We shouldn't fight the state. Yet I've talked to state officials, I've talked to the police, and they don't want it either because they cannot say that the safety outside of the campus is going to be okay. Charleston is a highly impacted boulevard. This area is impacted. Just because this is state-owned land, we should not have to be forced down our throats. Also, the difference that I want to make is that I'm not only a mother of 3 children, I'm a Clark County High School teacher of 25 years, but I'm also a retired Navy veteran, and I've done 20 years in the United States Navy. And I've seen what this can do to a community, not only in New York, Texas, LA, but also what we have not done. We've got too many strip malls that are vacant. They should look at putting it somewhere where it's not in the city of Las Vegas. And the ex-mayor, Oscar Goodman, if you're listening, you did not want this here. Right. You fought this for over 20 years. Why is it okay now? Why is our mayor and state councilman okay with this? Just because the funding is coming from the casinos. And if they have $300 million, give it back to the schools. Give it back to the teachers. Give it back to the bus drivers. I do care about the homeless. Trinity United Methodist Church feeds over 400 homeless a week. Maybe that's not enough, but you need to look at what they're doing every Thursday. And not only them, but the other parts of Las Vegas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Awesome. So thank you so much, Dawn. Appreciated. So next up, Matthew Wembold is actually a new resident to town. He just moved in here this last year, and so he had a few things he wanted to share with us. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Like you said, my name is Matthew Wembold. I'm new to the area. And I want to be very clear that this isn't about anti-homeless, right? In the summer of '62, my father and a younger brother were homeless, and if it wasn't for community resources, him and his mother wouldn't have been able to pull out of their situation. So that's not what this is about. This is simply about the state proving to the citizens and the taxpayers of this community that this is the right location for this proposed campus. This is going to be a gigantic commercial development. So we're just asking, have you proven the impact of the environment that this construction will have? No, you have not. Have you done a study to prove what kind of urban impact the development of this size will have? No, you have not. Have you studied the traffic pattern analysis during a construction period? No. Why have those processes been skipped? If I wanted to build a casino here, you would ask me to do those same things. So when I asked this question to Jack Robb, the Chief Innovation Officer of Governor Lombardo, he simply says, well, because we legally can. Because we can legally skip those processes that are put in place to protect the exact citizens in a community from a large development like this. So I asked Mr. Robb, if you want to stand on legality, when's your next trip to China to go date 14-year-old girls? Because the legal age of consent is 14 in that country. So your logic doesn't hold water here, okay? So we want to know why the secrecy, okay? Not only are you bypassing these important studies, from what we've heard through rumors, you have developed transfer stations throughout the valley. So not only are you developing a 900-bed apartment complex right here, you're gonna create transportation alleys to have the entire valley ship their thousands of homeless to this one location. So I would ask, with thousands of homeless in the valley and only room for 900 of them, what's the plan for the overspill? Or Miss Jeffries, Kim Jeffries, the CEO of NevadaHope.org, the one who is spearheading this project, says we have plans for all this stuff, but there is no plan for the homeless that don't make it into this program. So will they be wandering the streets in between all of these school children that cannot take a bus route because they're too close? What is the plan for that? There's no answer. Why is there no answer? There's several facilities throughout the valley already, at least a dozen, that serve this type of purpose, that are offering services, shelter, food. Why has it been considered? Maybe take this $200 million and disperse it throughout the valley, helping those communities, helping those facilities expand. They're already in need of funding to do what they do. Why take that $200 million and build something new, create a bigger issue without doing the proper studies that you would ask a private developer? After speaking to Kim Jeffries, the CEO of NevadaHope.org, she says that this is based off of a prior project she did in San Antonio, Texas. And when we press for more information about that San Antonio project, they say, well, it's not exactly the same as the project in San Antonio because that was put in an industrial area. This is clearly residential. Right? And then when I talk to the San Antonio PD, the precinct that oversees that exact facility, they say it's in shambles. The crime rate has increased and the community has gone down. But luckily, Kim Jeffries has moved to Nevada in this lovely state. And so her San Antonio problem is no longer hers. It's the community members that still live there. And we just want to make sure that that doesn't happen to this community as well when Kim decides to move on to her next homeless shelter project. And also, when you look at the board members of NevadaHope.org, it's quite scary. And I would wonder what their motivation is. So Craig Billings, the CEO of the Wynn Resorts, he's on this board of NevadaHope.org. What do you think Craig Billings' motivation is with the homeless? Do you think it's about this community in this ward? Do you think Katie Miller, Senior Vice President of Caesars Entertainment, do you think she cares about this district? What do you think her motivations are? How about Keith Smith, President and CEO of Boyd Gaming? None of these people live in this community. And all of these people have been in charge to shepherd this $200 million of taxpayer funds with zero oversight from anybody in this community. So we're just asking the city and the state, and that's why we're filing legal action, to go through and answer these very basic, very simple questions that anybody from the outside perspective that didn't have ulterior motives would say, you know what? Those are fair and questions that should be answered before we break ground. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Matthew. Appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit now that we have a couple different perspectives, let's talk a little bit about the legal action, because there's some very specific legal issues here, not just how we feel about it, although these are great points and should be included. So as I said, my name is Jim Root. I'm the de facto organizer here of this group. And I am so passionate about this area. I specifically chose this place to live. I wanted to find my forever home where I could retire. It's a beautiful community, centrally located, and it doesn't have a lot of crime. Nice big lots. I love this place, and I'm fighting for my own future and everyone else's here. So let's talk about the troubling lack of transparency and the accountability regarding this proposed project. The project was pushed through at the very end of the 23 legislative session with no community involvement or adequate notice. Even more troubling, in the recent 25 session, oversight requirements were removed, leaving this major project without any city-level permits or inspections. Despite countless attempts to engage legislators about this project, as well as the CEO, Kim Jeffries, we have received no meaningful responses or information. If there is nothing to hide, why has everything been kept from the public? There are more issues here than we can cover right now, but let me give you a couple of examples. Number one is the sheer scale of this project. This is an unproven nonprofit organization that's going to be in charge not only of $200 million, but supposedly running a 900-bed facility, massive support structure as well, and an annual budget of the city responsible for $15 million. That's a cost to the taxpayers. It's completely unfit for a quiet residential neighborhood like this with so many schools and churches right nearby. There are existing community services actually being provided at this location. All of those facilities are going to be removed or displaced. Yet there's no plan to give, there's no plan on where they're going to go and how those services are going to be covered by the Campus for Hope. Shouldn't we know how this is going to impact our local ecosystem? How it's going to impact those people that are coming right now? If it displaces all of them, how is that considered progress? How is that good for our community? And now, there's a waterway that runs through this property. Despite that, there's been no environmental studies conducted on how that's going to affect our local ecosystem. We should know that. We should know how it's going to impact the environment before we tear all these buildings down and have a huge construction project. Even though this project, number 4, even though this project will bring hundreds of staff, not to mention the 900 residents at least, and all of the support systems here, there's been no traffic study. How can anyone say that 900 beds plus support staff is not going to affect traffic, congestion? This is huge, not only during the construction, but after, on a daily basis. These are some major thoroughfares that already have congestion. We need to know what impact that will have. A traffic study would help us with that. So there are also hundreds of nearby businesses on these corridors directly around here. Many of them are minority owned, but there are no economic impact reports either. Shouldn't we understand how this project is going to hurt the local economy before we break ground? How many of these businesses are going to be displaced or just put out of business because of this project? So what we're doing is we are respectfully calling for a thorough, independent study and full transparency from our government officials. Until these steps are taken, we're asking that the courts halt any further development of this project. If our voices are ignored, oversight is stripped away, and the facts are buried, what does that say about the process and the people behind it? This legal action is only the beginning. We're going to push for investigations into the legislators and their donors to determine what is going on behind the scenes. Why are they trying to push through a $200 million project so quickly and under the radar? As taxpayers, we deserve to know. And if these legislators refuse to be open and honest with the voters, we should make sure that they do not represent us in the future. Thank you. So I'm happy to take any questions, or if you have any questions for Matthew or Don, happy to do those. So is there anything we can answer for you? Yes, go ahead.
I got a question, Ryan Ketchum, Channel 13.
Yes.
I know you're listed on the lawsuit, I believe he as well.
Correct.
Plaintiff. I know there's a large group behind you. Can you tell us the plan? Is it going to move to a class action? Is anybody else going to file a lawsuit, or just you two?
So right now, myself as well as Matthew Wambold are named as the main plaintiffs. We've been discussing with our legal team whether or not to turn this into a class action suit. That is something that we've definitely considered. And if it makes sense to do that, we will move forward with that. Correct. There's 2 levels to it. First level is transparency. We need to know what this project is going to look like. The studies will help us because studies can only be conducted after you have clear blueprints. We've never even seen blueprints. We've asked for what this facility is going to look like. How many stories is it going to be? What's the footprint? How big is it going to be? We don't know. And so since we don't have any specifics on that, the only answer we've gotten from all of the principals is, well, we're working on that. That's not a really good answer, especially when they're supposed to break ground here in the next couple of months. So the first level is the transparency side of it. Tell us what it's going to look like. Tell us what the procedures are going to be for bringing people here, for graduating them from the project. What are the studies, right? Do a traffic study on the size and scope of this sort of facility. Show us how it's going to impact our community. That's the first level, but that's not where it stops. Beyond the transparency, we already know, just because we live here, that this is not good for our community, that this is not a good fit here. So the second part of this is, what other sites were considered? Why did you choose this one over the claimed 7 other sites? It was claimed by Brian Knutson that there were 7 other sites that were on the list, and this one was chosen. Why was this chosen? And what criteria did you use to make this one the #1 spot? Because honestly, we haven't seen a list of what other locations could be suitable for this size of a project. Oh, I'll take the second part first. 100% time is of the essence, because this is one of those things that once it happens, it can't be undone. You are going to dramatically change our community for the worse. And so time is of the essence 100%. That's why we filed the lawsuit now. We're seeking an injunction to stop this process until we at least know what's going on. And then to your first question of other locations, not knowing what other locations were options, it's hard for us to speak on which would be a good location. I have 2 parts to a location, and we've discussed it amongst our group. 2 parts here. Number 1, why are they talking about such a humongous project? Why don't they do a test project? Do 100 beds somewhere. Find a space that's maybe closer to where all the homeless are already congregating. Find a spot that is more convenient to them and more able to service the community that they say they want to service. Why come and move all those people here, and why make it so big? This is an experiment. This is an unproven nonprofit organization, an unproven system. Why do we have to spend $200 million on something for 900 people when we could do a test version somewhere else?
Why do we have to be ground zero? Why
Exactly.
do we have to be ground zero?
Exactly.
Any of you, I'm going to throw it back to you. All the news networks. I'm going to throw it back to you. I'm going to ask you one leading question. Would you want this in your backyard? Would you want this next to your child's elementary school, private school that you pay for, charter school that the governor pays for, or a high school that your student walks to? Ground zero is scary. Ground zero. We are ground zero. And what he is not telling you is we have over 2,000 people that have signed petitions to stop this. So we're ready to go. If the governor wants to come here and explain to me why he chose this, then show me a blueprint. I've seen the A's blueprint for over a year. Why is it we can't get a blueprint of what this is going to look like?
Exactly. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Matthew.
You know, another thing, we just recently passed on the Sony studio out in Summerlin, right? Our illustrious officials decided to not let that come to this city, and because they didn't want to let a $1.5 billion tax credit to that organization. Now that's something that would have transformed Summerlin and that part of the valley for the good, bringing in numerous types of jobs, opportunity, rewriting Las Vegas outside of gaming, bringing movies and production here. And they voted no on it. They thought it was a bad idea because they didn't want to give the tax credit to Sony Pictures. Okay, so now you're going to take $200 million to build this? We know that unfortunately a lot of the homeless people, they suffer from mental illness and they don't like to leave their facility. So you think you're going to have a lot of success dragging these unfortunate people out of their home far out throughout the valley all the way over here? It doesn't make sense. What makes the most sense is spreading this $200 million through a dozen or more facilities strategically placed throughout the valley as they already are, and giving them the funding that is greatly needed already. There's no need to build new construction. Why would they want to do that? As Jim said, well, we know that government contracts typically lead to overspending and mismanagement of funds, don't we?
Yep.
Didn't that just happen in this ward, right? So Why are they pushing for new construction so hard? It makes me wonder, is corruption on the corner, around the corner? Are we looking to hire somebody's brother-in-law who owns a construction company?
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
Why not spread the money to facilities that are already established and need funds to expand?
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and just one second. And to that point, actually, several of our community members have actually gone down and spoken to some of the homeless down there near the Catholic Charities where most of the homeless are congregating. And none of them want to leave. So why are we building it here where we're going to bring them here and then we're going to become a place where they don't want to leave here either? So thank you. Go ahead. What was your question? So I speak for most of us here. I don't think any of us are anti-homeless. We all have big hearts and we want to help the homeless. And that's, to Matthew's point, why spreading this funding around to organizations that are already helping would be really helpful. To your point of, is there anything that they are going to tell us that would make me okay with this project? To be completely honest, forget the homeless facility. If they were building a 900-bed casino here, I would be against it. If they were building a 900 unit apartment complex here, I would be against it. 900 offices, 900 retail places. Do they not realize that that is a humongous impact? Maybe it doesn't matter to them because they don't live here, but that project is far and away way too big, regardless of what they tell us. We're asking specifically from a legal standpoint, we're looking for the studies because we already know, having lived here, that this is not a good place for it. We're forcing them, we want to force them to do a study so then we get to show them, prove to them that this is not the right place for this. Now, to your point also, does it make sense to build a 900-bed facility anywhere? Honestly, I don't know that it does. I think, to Matthew's point of decentralized services, is much better use of this funding. Making sure that we go to places where there are homeless pockets and help them where they are, rather than trying to transplant them to a different community. Oh, go ahead.
If they start building it,
Yes.
are you going to stay or are you going to move?
So that's a great question. I don't want to think about that because I don't want to think the worst case scenario. Personally, I would probably move if they build it here because this is, my wife walks to the store and she walks right through CSN, and we wouldn't be able to do that. It would dramatically change my life here. But to that point, the real problem is, one of the reasons I moved here is because it's a largely retirement community. I may, at my age, be able to transplant and move somewhere, but there are, most of the residents in this area can't. And that's why we're fighting so hard. We don't have, a lot of us don't have the option. And I'm just saying I would, but I don't know that I even have the option. I don't know what I'd be able to sell my house for if this moving in here. Realtors have a responsibility to tell buyers that there's a 900-bed homeless shelter 3 blocks from the house that they're buying. They have to tell them that. And so I don't know that I would even be able to sell my house at a level where I could buy something else. So Ryan, go ahead.
Now, one thing that you were mentioning, I know she was mentioning not wanting to be ground zero, not wanting to have this
Yes.
in the community. If they do separate it, let's say, I know you mentioned against the 900 beds, would there be a bed amount that would be sufficient where you guys are okay with this project, or just overall not having a project like this in the community?
So here's what's interesting, right? What's interesting is these services that they say they're going to be provided are already being provided. There are residents that live in these buildings behind us. They're already being provided here. What they're going to displace all these people and all the services that are here to build this huge project and bring in new people, but they're already providing services. Like Don was saying, the Trinity Church is already providing service for the homeless right next door. The number, I don't think there's any number beyond what's already here. In my book, and I speak for most of us, is it's not necessarily how many there are and all the other things, because all those are important, but you're talking about a dramatic change to our community. the line that we've gotten from people, from legislators, is these services are already being provided. It's just going to be expanded. But when you figure, and I don't know the exact number of people they're servicing now, but the residents that they have here now, I've heard the numbers somewhere around 40 or 50. Well, you're taking that to a factor of 20? You're doing 20 times the number of people here. The sheer size of it is it just doesn't make sense under any circumstances. Any other questions? All right, awesome. Thank you guys for coming out. I'm sure if you want to talk to any of our residents, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Happy to stick around and answer any other questions you might have. Thank you.